My name is Jeffrey Davis, and we are having a wonderful time this week in Cape Cod, Mashpee. New Seabury Real Estate is hosting us and having a wonderful time in their offices. Our next guest, a returning guest, a very important topic for most of us we're going to talk about. Bernadette Braman, South Shore Generator. We're going to talk about generators today.
All right.
Right. And I think it's a much bigger issue than people realize. I think people need more about it. They need to think about it, what the implications are. It's worth the expense. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your business and what's going on in the market?
Sure. I definitely agree with you, and I think that more and more businesses are starting to become savvy to how important power is to continue to operate and continue to make revenues that they make. And people are starting to understand, I think, a lot more about the utilities problems. They're starting to be coming to light, how their infrastructure is insufficient, how money hasn't been spent on continuing to strengthen the infrastructure, and so power has sort of become a little bit more unreliable and will probably continue until they start to look at that. So I definitely think that the growing knowledge of that is certainly helping our business, but people need to be thinking about it for theirs as well.
Tell us about your business, a family business, right?
Yep, it's a family business, started back in 1982 by my father out of the basement of our house when my brother and I were small children. And about 4 years ago, my brother and I bought the business from our father, took it over with the help of a transition consultant, of course, because that's not an easy process. My brother and I have been working in the business essentially since we were kids, and sort of worked our way up from the bottom, and here we are today running the business. And he is finally retired and enjoying his retirement, playing with his old cars that he does.
What started him to get into this business in '82?
It's actually a nice story. He worked for another company doing generator service work. Didn't like the fact that his efforts weren't appreciated, and so he took his last tax return, talked to an accountant. The accountant told him he had no chance. There's actually a letter framed somewhere in the office that says you have no chance with what you've got. Took his last tax return and took a chance, and just knew that he had no option but to succeed with two small children at home, and he went for it, and he started his own service business, and a lot of those customers are still customers today, including like Dennis Fire and things like that.
That's the great American entrepreneurial story.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. That's what's happened millions of times, and we hope is going to happen a million times again.
Absolutely.
It seems like everybody's trying to get into the generator business. All of a sudden the air conditioning guy, the plumber's doing generators. Everybody's doing generators. You must be sitting, around with your brother and saying, why are these guys in the generator business? Can you share some of that inner thought without mentioning names?
Sure. We find it interesting, those businesses that are jumping in, and some of them have already jumped back out, understanding that, it's not for them necessarily. And I think weather-related incidents is what's driving them to jump in, because sales of generators are booming when there's weather-related things going on, and people don't stop to think about what happens after the storm is over and I need it serviced, or I have a problem and who's going to take care of it. So it's easy, I guess, at that point to get into the business. Where the trials and tribulations, I think, come in for those folks is when it comes to the service side of things, and not having the full understanding that we have after 30 plus years in the business, of knowing that you can't just put it in and walk away, that customer, whether it be a residential customer or a nursing home, has service needs after the fact that have to be addressed. It's an emergency generator, and that means that 24 hours a day we're available to those customers. Weather situations aside, as long as it's safe to be on the roads, we're out there, we're tending to that. And I think that's the most annoying part of it, is that it's hard for people to understand that when they're sitting down making their purchasing decisions, in the excitement or chaos of a recent weather-related incident, that these are things that happen after the fact and should be thought about.
Bernadette, if someone wants to find out more about generators for their home or their business, and I can't see how a business can build a plan, a secure plan to stay in business without a generator, how would they, find you, do research on you, connect with you?
So we have a website. It's www.ssgen.com. You can submit requests off of the web for information inquiries or free maintenance proposals. You can also reach us at the office, which is 508-295-7336.